Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Digital Painting Art Show. My name is Jesus Conde, and today in the art class number 3 we're going to be doing some painting on top of everything we did last week. So it's going to be painting some details, where we need to focus the details and all that, and we're gonna do some changes a little bit in lighting, in colors and everything. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to talk is the brush that I'm using, which is the same brush that I use for sketching, which is every circle brush that you can find. Let's use this one for example. We press F5 to get the brush window, and we go to shape dynamics, and we're going to put the diameter, the minimum, so we can have like a tip at the beginning when we don't press when we don't use the pressure too much. And then go to brush tip shape, and we're going to make it less round, so we're going to put roundness maybe 50%, something like that. We're going to make it it's like an oval shape. Let's use maybe 40. So it will give you kind of like a cooler look in your lines. We could go way less round. Let's use 30%. So this is actually nice for drawing, because it gives you kind of like when you draw vertically, it gives you kind of like a wider look than when you draw horizontally. See? So when you do a drawing like this, it looks way more interesting than if all the lines are the same size. Alright, so, and the way you save it, you can deactivate the smoothing thing. We don't have other dynamics or transfer, any of that. The way you save is you go to this button right here, so this appears and you can save your brush, so it will be the last one in the brush list. Hey guys, so we're going to continue with the this is the third class, and we're going to concentrate a lot more in painting directly and not too much explaining other things, because this is taking way too more than I was expecting, and I don't want to do this like I don't know, 10 shows or something like that. It will be crazy. So now I'm going to focus on painting more of the details and stuff like that, and doing something better with the mood in general. So one of the things that I want to do is putting a lot of more backlights or fill lights. So a backlight is basically a light that comes from the back, and you can have a rim going on, but since the light is coming this way, we can have fill lights, which is kind of what's going on in here, which is all this it allows you to have more lighting in your scene. Like for example, this bounce of the green light of the light hitting the ground with the grass, and then having this green here is that is bounce light, but it's actually also a fill light, because it's filling the scene with light. So we're going to concentrate on applying more of those. I'm gonna try to paint that water today, and I'm just going to start. I'm taking the colors with the eyedropper, which is the Alt when I use the brush, and I'm using 60% opacity here. So I'm pretty much lefting some of the color behind, so I'm not painting everything of the color right away. So having that allows you to kind of integrate some of the colors already. For example, here I'm going to put some green, but I already have this color that is the green with the brown, so now I can use that color in something else, like to blend a little bit more. and have it somewhere else. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing with the other colors, and I'm just basically going to paint everything that I can find that I can improve. This is not going to be like a super detailed painting, but we want it to be as close as possible to being finished. So I'm just going to be kind of like all over the painting. I'm going to leave something of the liner also. I don't want to get rid of it completely. So right now I'm using 60% opacity, and the way I'm painting is basically just doing quick strokes where I want to blend some colors. Here I'm going to make the brush slightly bigger, created a new layer so I can paint on top of all this stuff that is in here. And is a lot of cleaning also. I'm going to put some stuff where there was nothing before. Sometimes I think I will have to take some stuff off, but most of the case will be adding, because we are painting details. So that should give a more kind of like a feeling that there's more going on in the foreground. You have this more like paint look all around. All right. Here also, let's do some adding some dark values and doing some blending. Really, there's nothing special in my way of painting. I'm just doing, let's say I'm going to paint some grass. You're just making the brush small and doing this. That's the way I do grass. If I'm going to paint this part, for example, let me paint it with another color so you guys can see what I do. I just use 60% or 50%, just paint on top. That's it. There's no magic, not in the brush. I'm not doing anything crazy here. It's just painting with a lot of brush strokes. But that's my way of painting. You could paint a completely different way than mine. It's completely free. You can do whatever you want, and it will not be wrong. I mean, you just do it your way, and that's it. These darker values of the line blending with the color of the dirt, I'm taking those for for the shadow, because I basically just need a darker value, so I just take that one. I'm listening to Harry Potter soundtrack, by the way. One of my favorite movies and soundtrack. Most of it because it reminds me of something magical or something really kind of like, it's not cartoony, it's not realistic also, like there's something going on in those notes. That melody really gets me some imagination. So now I'm going to use 30% because I want to do this kind of like a little subtle pass between colors. I want to keep the painted look, so I just do more strokes. Here I'm going to 40% opacity. And every time I move, I just move with the hand, paint, and then Alt for the eyedropper. Move with the hand, paint, Alt for the eyedropper to pick another color. Move with the hand, Alt to pick another color, and just keep painting, because I actually never stop using the B. Do you know what I mean? Like right now I'm using the B while I'm painting this. If I press Alt, I have the eyedropper, and if I press space, I move. But as soon as I left the space button, is still the B, is still the letter B. So it's basically just that. Painting, moving with the space bar, then Alt for the eyedropper, painting, moving with the space bar, then Alt for the eyedropper. So now this is what I got right now of what I just did. I'm going to add a little bit of blue, dark blue in the background. There are parts that I want to add that color, like here for example. I'm not sure if put it on the plants or between the plants. I'm just going to put some color in there and see what happens. Here I'm using it like if it was on the plant. Let me blend this brown with that blue. And remember that now I'm painting on top of the liner, so I have to be aware of that all the time. I'm going to take this color, put a little bit of that here, 40% opacity, 20% if I want to blend slowly, 30% opacity. I'm changing those with the numbers. Okay, 70%. When I use higher numbers, is because I want to cover more of the painting. It's like if I were putting more paint on my brush. So 50% with the number 5. Use the eyedropper there to pick another color here again. Again. And now let's put a little bit more here. Let's use the brown of the tree. And I may need some darker color here because I need something there to make the shadow. Let's use this dark. I created a new layer just in case to use this darker. This is actually not that dark. But you can see some difference there. I'm going to flip the canvas to have a different view of everything. I'm going to paint, basically I'm going to paint to the other side. Let's put a little bit of the blue color here under this. And here a little. Let's use a little bit here. For a second I was going to use the digital color palette, but I resisted. Okay, here I got some darker color. Let's use that. Okay, looks a bit messy. Let's see what can we do to clean that a little. Okay, let's erase these lines a little here. There is something I want to try, but I'm still thinking of it. I never pushed play on the time, but I'm already 50 minutes in. Okay, just to have a rough time management, because I can spend more than 1 hour in these chapters. A little bit here. Okay, just to have like a rough something going on in there. Let's use a darker green here. I made that green selecting the color of the green color of the grass with some of the color of the lines. By the way, the brush I'm using, well, I think I'll record something and put it at the beginning, but it will make no sense to mention it now. So I just record something else and put it before everything. So we probably will be listening to this and we'll be, okay, this guy already talked about the brush, but yeah, I'm going to record it later. Don't worry about it. Okay, so let's see what can we do to make this more appealing without having to work too much on it. That's a trick itself. Okay, we're going to clean a little those edges. In the edge basically is the part where you see most of the failures, like you can really notice when something is not finished because of the edges, but we will say that that part is just doesn't need to be that detailed. That's also true. You could have some parts that really don't need too much detail. Some of this green here. Actually, I'm not that happy with how the vegetation is turning. I don't know why. Maybe because it's too solid, the look. It could be more cartoony, I don't know. Let's use another brush to figure that out. So I'm going to use this one, which is more soft, but then I cannot do like little leaves and stuff. I could, but it's a different approach. It'll take me years to make leaves with this brush. So most of the definition of this painting will be on the tree. Let's use this green here and this dark blue here. Okay, and let's start. Well, actually here I should use the other brush because it's more makes more sense because it's rigid, something really more a harder surface. When the surfaces are hard, you have to use a harder brush. Makes sense. Okay, so I'm using 40% opacity just so I can blend some colors at the same time. That it's kind of like something between blending and drawing. Because for example here I'm going to use this direction on the strokes to give the impression that it has texture. Something like this. A little better. Here I put something darker. And here I'm taking these same colors of the blending between the color and the line. I really like those colors, I don't know why. We already have some lines going on here, so we're going to keep those. And here also we have some dark with those blues and black of the lines. So it gives a really darker tone. Now I'm going to use 70% in those strokes also give that density of the leaves. Also, if I paint on the edge, we'll have a harder edge than if I paint with a lower opacity. So I have those leaves floating in there. Okay, I really like this little blue here, so I'm just going to use it somewhere else, like here for example. Could be some light that is coming this side, kind of like a blue and purple thing. Also here I'm going to use it. I think I will put some of this green bouncing there. So let's use a little bit of that. Now I grab that color with the eyedropper and I have the blend color. Also here is round, so I should cover this a little. Maybe having the tree turning here in this part, something like that. Because I want to do, I kind of want this to look a little bit more cartoony, even that I said I wanted something more realistic. I wonder how it'll look if I give a little bit more cartoony look. Let me think. If I put a little bit of blue light coming there, but it will be kind of like this color we have right here, like this color here, and I'm going to use a 20% brush, maybe 30. So here I'm using 30% to have some kind of a light, some kind of like a, will look more like a reflection, like a bounce of light somehow, something like that. And I really like it. Here also I think it could be cool to have it. We don't want to confuse that with the green that is already there. Let's use this green to put some leaves in light here. Something like that. And we want to have some of those here also. Let's cut these ones so it doesn't look too these were looking too soft. We need sharper edges now. We need to have sharper edge, so we're going to do, I'm selecting the color outside the leaves and put it in, then I select the ones on the center and put them out. So I'm selecting the color of the leaves and paint some leaves. Select the color of the outside and paint some outside inside of the leaves, so you can have like maybe some spots of space between the leaves or something like that. Here I pick up some darker color that works perfect, I think. Putting it here maybe. Now I have it, and I can blend it with other one that I had already. Okay, so now I'm starting to like this a little bit better. Here I need some of this dark. This was one of the train branches. I want to make a little pop. Okay, so now we get into the more I'm starting to like this, so I'm going to pick some color here. I'm going to put more blue. I had to make a little stop because I don't like to record too much time continuously. So I'm putting some blue on this tree here, like that. Also, let's try some blue here in the grass, here in the back. Finally, let's have some thoughts on water. I'm just basically going to put these colors in. It's basically just taking the colors on top and bringing them down, but it's a little bit more tricky because you kind of have to make sense with the reflections, but it's not a mirror, so it shouldn't be too much reflective. We cannot see the sky in here, so we cannot reflect too much light on the top. I'm just doing the strokes down. Also, I'm gonna have to use a little bit dark in these leaves. Create a new layer for that. What else? Maybe we can put some little bit of blue here, like in here, for example. Maybe here a little in the back, just a little. To have this silhouette of this plant here. Okay, I wanted to try something here with this part. Maybe a little bit open in some parts, some places. Like this. Maybe this tree could have some lines. Let's use something more reddish. See, that's too much, but I'm not going to erase it. I'm going to left it there and just paint on top. Don't use Ctrl-Z too much. Whatever you do, just keep it, paint on top, stuff like that. That will teach you to take better decisions. I'm using a darker brown that I pick up in there, and I'm going to use this color right here, which is crazy that I'm taking that one, but I'm going to take it. Maybe for this rocks. And this rock should have, this one should be too much lit, should be just there. And I picked some of this color to put a little bit of darker values. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of more of this color, but this should have some of this. It's almost the same color of the tree. It's going to be my color for the dirt. The dirt where the light hits. Brighter dirt. We could have some more orange, maybe. Something like this. It's like dry dirt, basically. I want to focus in the center, in this spot, because the center is where the light hits the most. Remember the kind of like the planning that we did at the beginning, where the light was going to be and everything, all that. Okay, so these stuffs on the foreground are kind of this color. Somebody sent me those, so thank you for that. So I'm just putting those colors in so I don't forget. I guess we could also put some of these plants that floats. I'm not sure the name of them, but I remember those. Yeah, definitely something like that. And here, why not? One of those really lit. We're going to use the color here for the shadow part, like this, like the shadow under this grass right there. So they're partially under shadow because of the little mountain there. Let's bring these colors down. Something like that. We should have some green. Okay, I think this is looking way better than what we had before. And I want, since the lighting is coming from there up, like from here, I want to see if we could put some more lighting in there. Let's use the blue color. Let's use this blue color in here. And also, I really like what's going on here in the background with this blue too. So let's going to put a little in there with some darker blue. Let's blend those colors there. Something like that. Actually, I think it's too much. Let's bring it down a little. That's way too much. Let's erase a little bit. Okay. but didn't press Ctrl C, I just erase it. Okay, so now I have to hurry up a little because I'll have 30 minutes to finish as much as I can. So it's more of just painting with your guts and not too much thinking, right? So that's what we should concentrate right now. Something like this, maybe. Here we have a lot of this part is supposed to be a little bit closer to us. I'm just going to left it like it's part of the same tree right there. Alright, so here what we can do is just make a little, like there's something going on here, some little grass. I'm using 60% at the moment. Alright, this part is a little bit messy. Let's use 40% to blend a little bit better, more slowly. When you use less opacity percentage, you get a smoother kind of blending, obviously. And I'm using those values because those numbers because I'm blending with the hard brush. If I were using another brush, I would use probably higher numbers because the blending will be somehow easier because the brush already have the property of blending. When you use transfer, that's what you need to have the control in the pressure. But since this is a hard brush, I don't have that. Let's just here I'm using 100% for that tree branch. There are some parts that really don't matter too much in terms of detail because you're barely going to see those parts, but there's something in there. Obviously it exists, so something like this. Let's put a little of the light ones here so it makes sense. If light is hitting there, there should be some lit leaves in there, not only darker. You could have only darker, but for me it doesn't make too much sense. Have only dark leaves where the tree branch is lit. Also, when I'm using a really not too contrast color like this one on the background, when you use less opacity, it's a lot difficult to blend it. so you have to use higher. For example, one that is really bright, I could use 30-40% opacity, but for these ones that are really smooth color, more like a pastel thing, you kind of have to use high values so you can blend a bit better. Higher numbers, I mean, in the brush. Okay, let's put a little bit of these colors here. I think that's good. Okay, it has changed a lot since the beginning. To make this smoother, let's use 30%. I'm taking some colors and keep blending. Take some colors, keep blending. Take some colors, keep blending. I don't want a super clean blending here. Also, sometimes I use huge strokes, if you can see. So remember that for the time, I have only worked 3 hours on this painting since the beginning, and some of that time was used to explain things, so it really doesn't count much as painting some of the time. But I guess it was a little quick, not that quick actually, but it was fairly quick. Put some grainy here. We can see how the light bounces. Oops. Here also. Of course, if we get creative, we could even do the little leaves of the roses and everything, but that's not the case. We'll put some kind of like shadow here. It really is not necessary. We haven't kind of like the reference of the colors in there is enough, I think, for a concept. Little bit of shadow there. Little grass. And actually, you don't need to detail the whole thing. Sometimes I detail everything as much as I can, but I noticed that that's not necessary like all the time. Sometimes those details doesn't even get noticed, but you should definitely at least leave the painting as best as you can do it at the moment. If you don't have the time, just leave it as best as you can. But for example, in the edges, which is the part that is sometimes you can perceive when it's really not finished. Okay, here I'm going to use 40%. So in the edges, you could concentrate about doing something a little bit better. That's the part where it's going to be noticed the most. Okay, let's jump. I have to clean this part a little. Something like that. If it was a normal thing, like a job or something that I have to do, I will do kind of like a grid thing, and then spend a certain amount of time in each square. That's how I normally do the detail thing. Also, so I'm going to take some time to do some advertising for my channel. If you guys want to support my work, you can do it on Patreon. I'm writing a book. It's kind of like a really hard task, but I'm doing it. It's really fun, and all the drawings that I'm doing for the book, I'm posting the links on the YouTube, but my patrons get like a little bit extra of the fail attempts and everything that YouTube people doesn't get to see. Also, the PSDs of every tutorial that I do will be in there in the Patreon page. So if you got some extra $2 the month, because that's what it costs, just $2 the month, you can support me there. That will be a huge help for me. It will support my work. It will allow me to save some money for the time I publish. And the thing about the Patreon is that they're gonna get the book already. When I put it out, the Patreon people is going to be the first one to read it. Also beta reading, which is reading and giving me feedbacks of those readings for the people that wants to do it. Not everyone have to, but if you guys want, I could. But it's mostly my patrons and some friends. Okay, so I'm going to blend this one's a little here. Okay, I'm listening to the Lord of the Rings soundtrack. This is the part where Gandalf dies, which is really sad. Something like this. And let's see, what else can I put there? Let's put a little bit of more light spaces. Something like that. Yeah, I think that helps. definitely thinking that I'm gonna have to do this for another week, but I don't want to. I mean, I want to do something new, like a character or something like that. So let's keep painting to see what happens. Maybe I don't have to go back to this again. Let's use a little bit of green here. Maybe the rocks are a little bit you know, the green thing that sticks to the rocks when they're in water too much time. Exactly that. Okay, so let's put a little bit of grass here. And this is actually just moving my hand really fast. I'm not using any secret brush or anything. Something like this I think is fine. This shouldn't happen much, having just plain colors. This shouldn't happen too much, alright? Just try to minimize that. I need some shadow under this, guys. Like this. Let's put some of this dark here. And let's see, how can I make this better? Okay, this tree here should have more branches. Exactly. Something like that. And here. Also here a little. Okay. Well, I think this is looking better. Let's put some of this color here. I have a problem here with the perspective. Let's see if I can fix that. I'm just going to select this and going to Ctrl-Shift-C and then Ctrl-V, which gives me the same thing but all together, all the layers together. So basically I felt like there was a problem with the perspective there, and this will fix it. So let's see if that works. Only in this case, because I can do it like that, but other case will be completely like impossible. I have to redraw or something. But this case was fixable this way. I think. I haven't seen the result yet. Let's keep working on it to see. Yep, I think it looks a little bit better now. Also, let's have some of this color. So being here, a little bit of this green. It's also needed there. Go to the bounce light. This rock could be lit, but it also has a little bit of dark because of the water. Stuff like that. Looks a little bit weird, but it's actually accurate. The reflection of the light should look kind of like that. All those colors in there. Okay, so I think it's good. It just needs more stuff. It looks empty, so let's bring it here. Let's put a lot more leaves and stuff going on. Just with patience, doing lines and lines and lines. Here also. Let's put more and more and more. Okay, these need some work. Also, I think they should have a little bit of thing going on here. And maybe, why not a little bit of, let's put some pink here, something like this. I think this could make it look more pretty. Sorry, pretty is not the word. Appealing, interesting. Okay, so I think this is gonna be it. let me kind of use those little seconds I still have there. Sorry, I'm not talking too much. When I get too concentrated, I just cannot talk. It's like super difficult. Something I did, I think, is actually okay. If this was for a project, obviously it will need some work. But this is just kind of like a concept. And if I were doing it in one day, it will be in 3 hours, because that's what it took me to do. 3 hours total. So it's not that bad in terms of time when you work in a place. And the speed is something that you get with time, like it just comes. So don't get frustrated if you think you work slow. That's something that just happens. Oh boy, these roses look too bad. I have to kind of get them messier so you can kind of interpret them like if they were flowers. Something like this. Oh, time's up. And now what we're going to do at the end is a little bit of tweaking. I'm going to save this with another name and going to crop this like that. So this is our painting, but it changed a lot in just a few seconds. I'm going to use brightness and contrast adjustment layer to maybe change the contrast a bit, something like that. I think is fine. Hue and saturation, why not? We could go dark, we could go more saturated. It's kind of like this. I think it's nice, just for in saturation there. We could use the curves. No, not the curves. Let's use the levels a bit. So we have RGB levels, red, green and blue. Let's start with the blue ones. This is the darker, the middle and the white. If I turn down the white, it looks bluer because all the brights are looking blue. If I turn up the darks, it will look greener. And I think I kind of like this. I kind of like this greener version. So let's keep this. It kind of looks more warm, but I'm not sure. Let's use, so this is a layer, so I'm going to use half, like 50% right there, here, 50. So I think I'm going to keep it this way. I'm not sure yet, because the little bluish kind of looks more interesting, but I don't mind to use it that green. I mean, looks great in green. I think this will be it. So let's just put the signature with green. I don't know why. Create a new layer there. That's it. Well, guys, I really enjoyed doing this with you. I really hope you like it also. So thank you for attending class number 3, and let's have another one next week. All right, see you guys later. Please share.